Hi guys, my name is Jolie and I'm about to go into year 11, but this year I took one GCSE, which was GCSE statistics, and I got a 9, 135 out of 160. So I'm going to give you some tips because on YouTube there's not a lot of advice because statistics is such a niche subject and it's sort of gaining traction now, so I thought, why not, let's just give people some tips. If you didn't know already, statistics is a 1-year course, so the content isn't that vast. It's actually just not that much. Like, some of it is stuff that is implemented into normal maths. So, and yeah. I first started properly revising for the subject, I'd say in February. I did have a mock in December, but I didn't really revise for that, but I got a 7 in it. And the grade boundaries in statistics are really low. So a 7 was like, I don't even know what it was. It's like 40 marks because I only did one paper. But yeah, so I started revising in February for the February mocks. And since it was only one GCSE, unlike year 11s who have to take multiple at once, I did minimal revision. I just went through a few past papers, marked it, and that's it, to be honest. And in that mock I got a 9, which was pretty good. So I thought, like, statistics is my thing and I don't really need to focus heavily on it. So the biggest thing I'd recommend is doing past papers because, like I said earlier, since it's only a small course, all the past papers are pretty much repetitive. So when you do, let's say, about 3 past papers, you kind of notice that all the questions are the same. So then eventually you get used to learning how to answer certain questions. For example, if you get a interpret question, like for example, interpret this graph and say what it means about this and that, all you have to say is what's in the graph and then say this means that. Like, I think the examiners are looking for this means that, so make sure you add that in your answers. And that's like one thing you learn when you do multiple past papers, because in the mark scheme it says this means that, or therefore, or whatever connecting word you want to use is needed to get the full 2 marks. And I know it's quite crazy just for 2 marks, but yeah. One thing I also did is that if I didn't understand a certain topic, I would go on Stats Academy online on Google and I'd go through certain exam questions, which are actually pretty useful. I think the questions have been taken from like a past paper from years ago and then added into, like, you know, its own like past paper. And I'll just go through a bunch of those and I'd even repeat them because sometimes, you know, after quite a while you forget some of the questions, so you can just repeat them after like 2 weeks or something. And the biggest thing that helped me during the exams was flashcards. So I made a flashcard about quite a few things in GCSE statistics, like different sampling methods, the binomial distribution, linear interpolation, which thank God did not come up in the June 2026 paper because I hated that. But I made a flashcard about it because I didn't really understand it, but luckily it didn't come up. But binomial distribution did come up, so I'm quite glad that I made a flashcard about that. But anyway, let me show you them. So these are all my statistics flashcards, and let me just go through one of them to show you what I wrote. So this one is about sampling techniques, which is double-sided, and I just put each sampling technique and I put like the benefits of the technique and also the limitations, which is pretty easy to remember. And for example, for stratified sampling, I just put the formula there as well. And yeah, that's for sampling techniques. And then this one for capture recapture, I put all the assumptions down, which actually you need to remember because it's obvious there's always going to be a question about what are the assumptions. And the main assumption is that the things that have been sampled have had enough time to mix within the population. That one quote, I think, has helped so much with exam questions. Like, you just gotta remember, mix, mix, mix. And yeah, so then after Easter, that's when things got slightly more serious. So I started revising a bit more. I just, you know, that's the time where I created the flashcards. And then I also started to do the rest of the past papers that I hadn't done. And, you know, I think I finished all the past papers and I had done them like twice. That's how many times I did it. but I asked my teacher to go through things that I didn't understand, because we had some revision sessions which were every Tuesday, and I attended most of them, I think, and they were quite useful, despite the fact that it was more of just a talk session rather than a revision session. I mean, that's like how most revision sessions are. You never really properly get work done. Well, I don't know yet, I'm not in year 11, but you know, I'm just assuming. See what I did there? Oh my god, that's so cringe. But luckily my stats teacher bought Save My Exam Plus or whatever it is, so she made like practice questions for us based on certain topics that the whole class didn't understand, and I think those were very useful, because I just went through them all, marked them, and by the time I got to exam I knew exactly what to do. So if you're lucky enough to have a teacher that has Save My Exams, or if you have Save My Exams, this is not an advert by the way, obviously, because I have 3 subscribers, but if you have Save My Exams, use it to your advantage, because it's actually quite helpful. And even the free stuff is quite helpful. Like for linear interpolation, I used Save My Exams, even though, like, you know, they'll stop you with a paywall now and again, but you know. Okay, so that's pretty much it, because statistics is only a short course, like I've said about 80 times now. But whoever's taking it next year, I want to say good luck. You're going to be fine, because it's actually not that bad. And it's basically maths. It actually really helps with your GCSE maths, because in my mock for my maths I also got a 9, which was because half of it was statistics, and I've obviously done some statistics in the lesson, so it's actually quite useful. And hopefully this time next year I'll be making the same video, but for all my GCSE exams, which I hopefully will do well in. Let's hope. Anyway, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If anyone's gonna watch it, I can't lie, I don't think anyone can be bothered watching 5 minutes for something they already know. But yeah, like and subscribe, and see you whenever.